An update from the Pentagon there as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth declares today will be the most intense day of strikes as the war with Iran enters its 11th day. Let's get analysis here. Bring in our senior national political reporter, Sahil Kapur. Sahil, we'll talk about with our military analyst in just a moment, but let's talk about the politics right now because there are a lot of questions about the timeline with gas prices rising so rapidly here in America. Heading into the morning, there were a lot of mixed reports about the timeline with the Trump administration both declaring the end is near, but also this is just beginning. The defense secretary was asked about that timeline today. Did we get any clarity?
We did not get a lot of clarity, Joe. Now, you mentioned the politics. That's an important level set to look at this through the entire lens of this situation, because Secretary Hegseth and President Trump do have a lot of questions to answer Americans that they're not currently sold on in terms of what the U.S. objective is, what the strategy is, how long this will take. Now, the length of time, Secretary Hegseth spoke about this. He said the U.S. is in a very strong place and that he's giving the president maximum options here. He said he hasn't stated, and the U.S. has not stated, how long this will take. That's important. He said America's will is endless, and that he repeated this multiple times. Ultimately, it's up to President Trump to decide, passing the buck there to the commander-in-chief, essentially saying it's not his job as Secretary of Defense to decide how long this will go. But he did insist it won't be endless, it won't be protracted, it won't be mission creep, and suggested it won't be like 2003, which is an allusion to the Iraq War, which lasted well over a decade. But beyond that, there are no specifics. Will this last days? Will this last weeks? At what point is he going to advise President Trump to pull back? At what point will the U.S. have achieved its objectives? What Secretary Hegseth also did say is that the U.S. won't live under a nuclear blackmail scenario. And they essentially not only want to destroy the stockpiles of weapons that Iran has, but they want to destroy its ability to build a nuclear weapon. How do they get Iran to unlearn that ability? Again, there are a lot of questions here that kind of get to this bigger picture point of how long this war will take, and does the U.S. have an end game here?
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.